Welcome back to the channel. It is time to get the inner nose ready for paint. As you can see, it's pretty rusty and has quite a few pits in it, but we're going to deal with all that in this episode. The inner lip was all bent up from when I removed the spot welds from the old nose, so I hammer and dollied it flat. I made quite a bit of progress with the wire wheel and floppy disk, but there were areas that I realized I wouldn't be able to reach. Foreshadowing. I used a small piece of brass and my MIG welder and got to plug in the pits.
Yeah, I just dropped a hot slag down my boot.
Some holes were bigger than others, so I made some small patches as well and got those welded in, ground down. At this point, I was getting pretty tired of wire wheeling the rust, and I was just about dead set on getting a cheap Sandblaster from Harbor Freight. Not that the wire wheel was doing a bad job. As you can see, the metal's pretty clean here and looking pretty darn good if you ask me. But it was already too late to go, so I moved on to welding the A-pillars. If you're new to the channel, the reason I have to weld the A-pillars is because I put an entire roof clip from a different bus, and this is one of the parts that I've been putting off welding because I wanted the measurements to be just right. Finally, I got to it, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. There were some gaps that were a little bigger than I would have wanted, but nothing that a little patch piece can't deal with. And after getting the paint ground off and a little piece cut, it was time to weld it in. After a bit of grinding, it was starting to look pretty good. So I got to work on the other side and triple quadruple clamped it and got welding. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to hit the like button and also leave a comment. It really helps out the channel, and I read each and every one of them, and I try to respond to as many as I can. Thank you guys. Now that I got the A-pillars welded, I could finally remove the bracing that I put in when I cut off the roof. I then had Mallory come help me reinstall the door just to see how all the gaps looked, and it looked good. But at this point I was getting kinda tired, so I decided it was time to take a break and head over to Harbor Freight to buy myself that cheap Sandblaster. The next day, it was time for the much anticipated unboxing. It was quite underwhelming, and it came with this manual, which I'm never gonna read. I was also quite surprised when all that came in it was this gun and nothing else. Not sure what I was expecting with something that had a 4-star review, but I mean, hopefully it works. I also went ahead and got 50 pounds of this 70 grit aluminum oxide abrasive material, and if it works, can't complain. But unfortunately, the weather wasn't looking too good outside, so looks like we're gonna have to wait to test it out. The next day was bright and sunny, and it was looking like a good day to take the bus out. So it's probably been about a year since the bus has been outside, so it's quite refreshing to see her outside for the first time in a while. Even though now I could see all the imperfections in the work I'd done. But of course, it was finally time to get the sandblasting done. Now I'd never set this thing up before, so it was time to figure it out as I threw the manual away. I read in the reviews that other people cut their hose short, so I went ahead and did that, see if it helped any. Of course, don't forget to Teflon tape everything. You don't want leaks. Even though this entire system leaks. I used the same pressure regulator and air dryer from my paint sprayer, and I set the regulator to about 90 psi. Got my good old abrasive media poured in, and you should make sure to wear a mask even in this part, because yeah, I still feel it in my lungs. Also, don't forget to remove those little clips that hold the dash and store them somewhere safe. We'll lose them. And I got to blasting. At first, it was kind of hit or miss. It was spraying a bit and not spraying, but eventually I got it to work a little better. You'll see how I got that to happen. After using the Sandblaster for about 4 hours, would I recommend it to a friend? No. Would I recommend it to an enemy? Yeah. Now don't get me wrong, it probably has its uses in some places. I mean, you could get little things done here and there, maybe a little piece that's rusty that you can't reach somewhere, so you spray that. But if you want to get a large area done and you have this whole idea in your head that you're gonna sandblast your bus, it's not happening. Now eventually I did get it to work a bit better, and the way that I did that is I put the hopper up on the roof of the bus and I made sure the hose was straight and not kinked down, and I held the gun at the perfect angle, and then sometimes it worked as you would expect it to, as you can see. But I still give this product maybe a 2 out of 10, or rather a 1 out of 5. Truly, the main thing you'll be getting done with the Sandblaster is getting sand everywhere, including some unpleasant personal areas. But before taking the bus back inside, I had to give her a good blowjob. I don't know if I can say that. I probably can. I also went ahead and welded shut these holes the previous owner had made.
Drywall anchors.
Of course, you have to go over everything before you prime it with a good 40 grit, even 60 grit. And so I just went through, got everything sanded up, and it was getting kind of dark outside, so it was time to drink a brew and push the bus back inside the house. Mustered all the strength I had and got to pushing this bus on my own because Mallory likes recording more than she likes pushing. So of course, I had to go Super Saiyan. Once that was done, I failed a couple times.
I slipped.
But eventually, I got it in.
No.
And now it's finally time to epoxy prime it. First thing I did was get the OSFO and make sure that I treated all the rust that might have been left over, just to make sure none of it reappears. If you're not familiar with OSFO and you like working on old rusty stuff, you should definitely check it out. I then got the POR 15 and made sure to cover everything in a thin layer. Now I'm not sure if this is necessary, but I don't want this to ever rust again, so I'm just going ahead and doing it. Once the POR 15 was tacky but not dry, I set up my spray gun with some epoxy primer and went ahead and gave everything a coat. If you're interested in seeing how I set this up, I got a whole episode about spraying epoxy primer and the link's in the description. If you made it this far in the video, I'd like to thank you for watching and remind you to subscribe to the channel because there's going to be new restoration episodes coming out every week. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like it, leave a comment, and as always, I love you all and I'm glad you enjoyed the content.